All right, today we're talking about how to stand out in a world where trust is one of the scarcest commodities. My guest today is Ed O'Keefe. He is a father to seven, puts me to shame with just four, and has
Oh,
started multiple 7 and 8-figure businesses. And I'll tell you more on him in a second, so stay tuned.
Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we feature top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and thought leaders and ask them how they built key relationships to get where they are today. Now, let's get started with the show.
Welcome, everyone. John Corcoran here. I'm the host of this show, and every week we have smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs from all kinds of companies. We've had Netflix and Grubhub, Redfin, Gusto, Kinko's, YPO, Activation Blizzard, Archives, lots of great episodes for you to check out there. And of course, this episode brought to you by Rise 25, where we help businesses to give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. How do we do that? We do that by helping you to run your podcast. We are the easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do 3 things: strategy, accountability, and full execution. And we even invented what some are calling a B2B podcasting. It's our platform, Podcast Copilot. So to learn more about it, go to our website, rise25.com, or you can email our team at support@rise25.com. All right, I'm super excited about today's guest. His name is Ed O'Keefe. We've hung out in person, although it's been, and
wow.
he is the CEO of EOK Media. He's also the founder of dentistprofits.ai, creator of Offer Wingman. He's based in Chicago. He has 7 kids, as I mentioned earlier, and he has done a lot of different things in his career, but it really boils down to a lot of the work that he does is helping experts and entrepreneurs to sell masterminds, coaching clubs, premium priced offers, and to really improve their offer. And we're going to talk about in an age of AI where AI trust is so scarce, where people don't know what they can trust. How do you look someone in the eye and make an offer that makes them want to work with you? And I think, Ed and I are going to talk about this in a second here, but as I talk to my kids about the world that they're going into, that's something that's incredibly important. He's also the author of Time Collapsing, Time, Speed, Money, Power, and Meaning, which is a book about, there it is, how to be effective in your time. Ed, such a pleasure to have you here today. And I love to start by getting to know my guests a little bit about what they were like as a kid. And you grew up with 12 siblings, 13 of you.
Wow. Yeah, 12 siblings, just the same parents, mom and dad, and they were married 60 something years. They're both passed away now, but I think we got 60 something grandkids, and that's just on my side. My wife is one of 8, and so there's a million of them as well. So
slackers on that side.
yeah, so we like it loud. We like it kind of hectic, and life's kind of like a train station everywhere we go. We do better with more people than we do with less.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. I say to people all the time, well, it's chaotic. I have a lot than a lot of my peers do, but I wouldn't give any of my kids away. And that's kind of how I feel about it. It's
That's right.
So although it depends on what day you ask me. Some days I might want to. You were, as a kid, you said that you were one of these kids was selling candy bars. What motivated that? I imagine that you, with 12 different mouths to feed, maybe were you motivated by getting money in your own pocket?
Yeah, I mean, mom and dad were really good at. I mean, I think like all my siblings will tell you that me and myself and Maureen were spoiled because we were the 12th and 13th, so we got all the stuff that many didn't. But they still were like, "Hey, look, you want to play club volleyball? Like, look, you got to start selling your candy bars. We have our kids babysit, or pick up stuff or do whatever they got to do." But I really did like, okay, hey, I'm gonna go buy these candy bars. Because I did that on my own. I found the local vendor where I could go buy, the big giant Kit Kats for like 25 cents and then sell them for 75 or a buck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then after you eat a few of them, that's the tax on it. You have a little bit of money. Oh, I forgot to tell you, John, you asked me like, and then I sold when I had older brothers. So I didn't drink in high school, which for some people that's like, okay, no one drank, but on the south side of Chicago, everybody drank. But what I did do is I would have my siblings go buy the keg, and then I would sell solo cups. I forgot to tell you about that one.
Nice.
And then so I would make money selling red solo cups to the kegger behind the tracks or at the thing. So
okay. Just the cups, not like with beer in it, just the plastic cup itself.
They had to go fill it up. So it's after that,
Yeah.
And
Very
then just
smart.
one small like thing is like time collapsing. I wrote that was more about, I mean, everyone wants to like look at it like it's gotta be about time management. That's why I don't like, so I don't know if I even like the term of the title of the book. Like it really is about how do you model and get what you want faster than you ever thought possible. And what you and Jeremy do at Rise 25 is like a great example of it, is like you bring on experts every single week. And the beautiful thing about like, and I talk about it in this book because when I discovered this one principle, it changed my life, which was the Leapfrog Theory of Success by Robert Ringer. He wrote the book Winning Through Intimidation in the 1970s or something like that. And it said that you don't have any moral obligation to work your way through the ranks. At any given time, you can leap to the top of a market and claim your spot.
Hmm.
And then he went on to talk about how there's less competition at the top of a market than there is when you're working your way through the ranks. So you might as well
Hmm.
just leap to the top. Now he said you got to back it up. But then that then moved into modeling and then understanding like, well, if I can, if the law of cause and effect, and if I could do what John does, then I will get similar outputs to him. And that applies to every single niche or industry that we go into. Like, who's the model? Who's successfully doing it? And then how do we reverse engineer what they're doing so that we're not guessing as much? Now, I just made it sound easier than it is, but that's the premise of where when I was a blue collar kid growing up in a big family, had no real models of entrepreneurship, um, that really became my benchmarks for,
And how did you learn to do that? Was it that book that you cited? Was it,
No, yeah, great question. No, that one was just one more that was just about breaking the belief systems in my head of the lies I was either telling myself or had bought into, the indoctrination of like if you think about it, man, it's like we go to kindergarten, then first grade, then second grade, and we're taught very linear thinking.
hmm
So the simultaneous exponential result is very counterintuitive to how we're trained, right?
hmm
Um, I think it was a combination of that, and I think it was a combination of learning neurolinguistic programming, studying Tony Robbins, going down that rabbit hole, learning accelerated learning while I was totally broke. I was so into like, I was okay with one thing I knew is that if I could invest in myself, eventually the outputs would get better.
hmm
And then that's where I stumbled into falling in love with direct response marketing and direct response copy. And again, I was like, okay, cool. Well, I know how to like model things, so I'm just going to get better at this. And I fell in love with it. So you got to match your passion with your
Skills
specialized
and
knowledge.
ability. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Then I went into the dental, excuse me. So to leapfrog is I went and found a mentor who was licensing the rights of his product, which was showing niche business owners how to grow their business. And I didn't know this before. No one ever taught me this, but I was like, okay, you mean I can go license this, go into a different market? And I didn't know anything about dentistry. We
And
dove
were
right
you speaking? You had gotten into motivational speaking while you were in college. Were you speaking at this time, and you
in. Yeah,
found
I
this
was
as a model as
speaking.
some way of
Yeah.
diversifying your revenue for your business, or
Yeah,
how'd you get
no,
into
no,
it?
no, because there wasn't a lot of revenue in when you're
Okay,
a motivational speaker. No way.
especially I would think a 21-year-old motivational speaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. What my first like little success was, my little first base hit was, is I started learning direct response copy. I took my speeches that I was doing with athletes on elite performance. I put them in a couple manuals, sold them digitally online.
Hmm.
But I did the math and I was like, okay, so I'm selling these for 27 bucks, 49 bucks, but there's not that many volleyball coaches that are willing to spend that money. So if I just run the math, as good of a copywriter as I was, as good as a communicator as I might be, I was never going to be able to make real money. And
Yeah.
so, and I still remember, by the way, and I always tell people like, do the math because the math will like give you clarity on a lot of decisions. I still remember pushing myself away from the desk after I like read the blog and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember I'm in the wrong market.
Because you were trying to serve volleyball coaches. Okay.
Yeah, volleyball coaches, most of them are broke. Most of them
Yeah.
are like, it's not like if I was going to do it again, I think
Not a huge market.
it's not a huge market. I think
Yeah.
you could do much better now
Yeah.
with social with the social economy by by actually like targeting parents who coach,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
need, you could sell
Yeah.
them stuff, but that wasn't my passion to do that. I have a passion for coaching elite athletes, but I dove into dentistry and just, I licensed the rights. I borrowed some
How'd
money.
you decide on dentistry? Because you're not a dentist,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Same way I just decided on personal injuries because I did the math. I was like, look, they're spending a lot of money on advertising. They're spending a lot of money on agencies. They're spending money on management consultants. That means there's a problem. This is really good for people to listen to if they're having trouble picking a market, but it's a problem they're willing to spend money to get a solution for. And that's super important
Mm-hmm.
because you see a problem, but if they don't have the money or the means or the
Yeah.
desire to exchange capital, they're not going to do that. So, man,
Yeah. Example of
yeah,
that I was involved in for a little while was lawyers who are unhappy as lawyers and want to move into something else. I was an unhappy lawyer who eventually moved out and eventually became an entrepreneur. And I've talked to so many lawyers that are unhappy that want to get out of it, but most of them are unwilling to put in the work or unwilling to pay the money to get out of it. So that does
yeah, there's a
happen.
lot of dentists like that too. And that's why they usually go into like how to invest in real estate and do
Yeah,
stuff. They'll buy some around the grand stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, man, so I dove in there. And so I cut my chops learning that. And in 12 years, ran that business, sold a division of it, learned a lot being in that group, which led me to like this.
Let me pause for a second. I'm curious. So you're, as you mentioned, blue collar kid from the south side of Chicago,
Yeah.
and become a motivational speaker. There must
Yeah.
have been something in you that gave you the confidence to stand in front of a room of dentists and say, "I will help you." Not a dentist yourself. And what was
Well,
that?
I had belief. First of all, I think being naive can really help a lot.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
There's a couple rules. Like if you're going to follow a model, part of properly modeling, I talk about this in time collapsing, and I don't mean to keep going back to that, but that's just the truth. Part of that model is you got to figure out what the belief systems are and you got to adopt them. So if someone's like, this is going to work, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, well, then guess what? I mean, at that time, I had no other choice. My back was so far against the wall. I didn't tell you, I got my nursing degree, but so I came home being the first one out of 12 kids at that point, and I said, I'm not going to nursing. I got my first one to get a degree in my whole family.
So they must. What was the reaction from your parents?
Probably like you'd expect, like what the heck,
Yeah,
and probably, and then I mean, I had people try to do interventions with me, like get a job is pretty
yeah,
much what the intervention
yeah.
was. And I was like, look, I'm coaching to pay rent. I'm speaking once in a while to figure it out. I'm going to seminars to learn, and then I'm learning these skill sets,
So you
man.
just knew that nursing was not the path for you, and
Oh,
you wanted something
yeah,
else. Yeah,
I knew that. I knew that
yeah,
at junior year when I listened to Dennis Waitley audio tape and Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale, and they said, you live in America, you could do whatever you want as you can build the life
yeah.
that you want. No one had ever really expressed it in that way, and so I was all in on that.
By the way, how did you discover personal development? It sounds like you studied a
Totally,
lot of it.
totally. So when I look backwards, I remember my sister gave me Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, when I was like 16.
Hold on,
And
hold on.
around
Got it
that,
right here. Got it right there.
yeah, right. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it, John. And then I remember being in psychology class, like my sixth, right around the same time, and we were studying Learned Optimism. By Martin Seligman. And there was a chapter in it when he talked about learned helplessness
Mm-hmm.
and about how people that succeed speak to themselves differently than people who don't. And what really cracked the code for me on that was they talked about the New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals, I think 1983, and how their explanatory styles were a certain way.
Hmm.
Well, that set me off, man. And then when I walked into my volleyball coach's office in college, there was Dennis Waitley's audio tapes and Earl Nightingale. And I asked Coach if I could borrow those audio tapes. Well, that just changed the direction of everything. Still
Hmm.
to this day. Still to
Hmm.
this day.
Wow. All right. So I took you a little off
That's
track there,
okay. I
but
mean, I
so
can talk about that stuff all day long. That's
yeah. So
just,
you decide to go. You find this system. You license this system, and you decide to serve dentists.
yep.
Okay. And so tell us about that. So you go into that, you still are serving dentists.
We still have clients now that like use our Wingman interview method and our social authority engine, right?
Yeah.
As part of their system. It's the
And
same thing we provide with.
tell us about that, the Wingman Authority method. What
Well,
that
okay,
is.
so let me just share this real quick. I was the first one to bring lead generation, condition specific lead generation to the dental market at scale. Like we grew a big coaching club. I was the first one at that time to teach how to run newspaper ads, generate the leads, send out a report. Now it's everybody's doing that. And so where I focus in the industry is more about okay, and this will go answer your question is that if everybody watching this right now, like the way people make decisions has shifted. And what I mean by that is that back in the day, you'd run an ad or do a direct mail piece and people would just call or they would buy or they wouldn't buy. Nowadays, we have what's called attribution, and we also have 7, 11, and 4. And I'm going to describe them both. So one thing we skipped over is I had a supplement company, still have it today, for 13 years, grew it pretty darn successful. But on our biggest year, we did just under 30 million.
Wow.
But I can tell you this, John, there was a direct correlation between if we spent money on ads, like cold ads to the market, our Amazon revenue would go up at the incremental percentage of what we spent. Just quick example is if we spent $100, now we were spending like 1.5 million a month at that time. But just hypothetically, if we spent like $100, let's say it was Amazon sales were 10. If we spent $150, boom, Amazon sales jumped up to 15. And why I'm sharing that is because people would bounce off. They'd go to Google, they'd go to YouTube, and then they would find the Amazon listing and they'd buy there. Why? It was a trusted source. So my big argument, not big argument, but like my big message to like my personal injury attorneys that I'm helping now and these dental implant docs, I only work with dental implant docs. I don't work with any other dentists because dental implants, like one of my clients just had a $60,000 case come in. He's spending $20 a day on ads. Like that's crazy, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Pay for his ads for 5 years. But here's the thing. Let the big budget people flood your market with interested people. So for example, in both industries, like in dentistry and in personal injury, you have private equity and you have these massive Goliath of people that are just flooding it with advertising, TV, radio, everything. And when you're a smaller guy, say you only have a couple partners or even if you are big, this still works. But even if you're a solo guy, after they click on that first ad or after they see Top Dog Law, they're going to go to YouTube and type in, like I live in Beverly in Chicago. They're going to type in Chicago Beverly personal injury attorney, like who's the best. And if you don't have a relevant, fresh, up-to-date video that answers their biggest questions, I have it back here. Their skepticisms, their worries, their concerns, and like that is the problem you're solving. The same way, like I might sell a supplement to help someone with blood pressure. When you're in the service industry, you're relieving all their questions. That's how you build rapport and trust immediately. Sure, they're going to look at your reviews, but the data on that is that 83% of people believe reviews are manufactured. That is only going to get worse because AI could practically automate anything nowadays and manufacture anything nowadays. And so at the end of the day, can I tell you our solution to it? And then you can ask me the other question.
Yeah.
So one more stat that came out that's become pretty famous amongst experts and coaches and whomever is that Google came out and said that when someone's going to make a big decision, they consume about 7 hours of content. They need 11 different touch points. I actually think it's higher than that. I think it's like 19 to 30. And your trust levels increase if they see you on 4 different platforms. Google, YouTube, email, text, billboard, TV, whatever that might be, but it's 4. Now, most experts and professionals say, what the hell? I'm not going to make 7 hours of content.
Yeah.
And I always say like, well, okay, first of all, the easiest way to do it is to get interviewed. Like you guys are just amazing at it. And I
For sure, definitely easier. Yeah, just answer the questions. Yeah.
Answer the questions.
Yeah.
I stumbled on this on accident, and I realized I was doing this all the time. I had a doctor who ran a $65,000 a year coaching club, and he hired me to stay on. He came, paid me for a day of consulting. We created his offer. Built out his whole year long, how you're going to charge 100,000 and all that stuff. Well, he wanted me to help his team. Well, by the time I met with his team, I came back to him and I was like, Bill, man, by the time I try and help them with marketing for the next 3 months, we're going to lose three. We're going to lose 3 months, and I can't even promise if they're going to be there. I go, why don't I just interview you? I already know all the questions to ask. I already know all the objections. And what I found, John, is that most people who are really good at something, like they're a great doctor, they're a great attorney, they're whatever, when it comes to bragging about themselves, they're awful.
Yep.
And it can come across the wrong way. So what I do is I know all the sales points that I want to get across as the interviewer, and I just make it easy. And so we have doctors, we have our attorneys that I work with that, they have leads come in, and guess what? First thing that's sent to them is a video podcast of the expert being highlighted on a different show. Sets them up as third-party edification, puts them on a higher stage. And I mean, obviously I can go more in depth on this, but it solves so many problems at once that, it's something we're really proud of and love working with people.
It's music to my ears to hear that, the medium that, but Jeremy's been doing it for 17 years. I've been doing it for 15 years. That this, industry, which, when we started was the bastard stepchild or like this weird, people understand that now it's the point where, everything else we've lost trust for. And now people, it conveys more trust when you see someone being interviewed on someone's show. That's really cool. Cool to hear. So let's.
Can I say a quick shout out to you guys, John? Like every time I'm on your show, I get leads and people wanting to do business, right? But that's the power of what you guys have built, right?
Yeah.
And now, if most experts out there probably aren't paying attention to this as much as they should be, but at the rate and speed at which AI accelerates, I really want to encourage you. It should be the rate and speed at which you accelerate your personal brand. The data's in. The personal brand that leads a business, the business will grow 10 times faster than if they're just trying to grow a business brand. It's because it's just old school. People want to do business with people, even if it's not the person they come and see at the office. They just want to be like, oh yeah, I saw the thing with John, and John's the best.
Right.
John. Oh yeah.
Even if they end up talking to someone else, not that person. Right.
It actually makes more sense if they talk to somebody else because you're the real expert.
You're the face, right? They kind of if you suddenly get access to the guy that you've seen on TV, it's like, wait a second, this isn't as big an operation as it seemed to be.
Yeah. Either way, my point is I just encourage people like you're BS about I look bad on camera. I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't do this. I'm trying to build a brand. All that's got to get out the window because we're just in a current day and age where trust is at an all time.
Well, COVID did. I found before COVID, people were so apprehensive about getting on video, and then once we all got used to being on Zoom, it helped a little bit. I want to ask you a bit about you said you work with personal injury attorneys. I'm a recovering lawyer. Lawyers have all kinds of things around selling themselves. It used to be illegal in many states, maybe still is in some states, to even do any advertising. So there's that piece of it. So talk a little bit about what drew you to working with personal injury attorneys and how you're helping them.
Well, yeah. So a friend of mine's Ken Hardison. He runs PILMA, which is Personal Injury Law Marketing Management Association. Runs a great mastermind, runs a great event. He hired me as a wingman, one of my Offer Wingman services, where I come in and I help orchestrate the messaging and kind of help the experts sell more mastermind members. Is pretty much what I do. Well, I ran his 8-figure panel. So I have 4 of the best attorneys, and there was a lot of great attorneys. And I sat for 4 days listening to one after another share their story, their tactics, and their strategies. 3 things I just got to say. Number one is I liked everybody. Like I liked them all.
They are the most entrepreneurial types of lawyers. I think that's what people don't realize. Personal injury lawyers get a short shrift, and they're kind of misunderstood in this country. But as far as lawyers go, they're the risk takers, because if they take on cases that are bad cases, they go out of business, and so they tend to be the most entrepreneurial types of lawyers.
Yeah, and I found it to be like exactly. I found it to be like great entrepreneurial fun group, right? So that was
Yeah.
number. So because if they had the other attributes I'm mentioning now, but I didn't enjoy them, I wouldn't want to help them.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to do it. And so when I was doing the very vividly when I was doing the 8-figure panel and I was listening to each one of them share like what was their breakthrough, the breakthroughs mirrored what I found to be the true breakthroughs in dentistry. I was like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, so yeah, fix the phones, fix the intake, make that a better experience. All of a sudden, the business could triple or quadruple, right? Um, but at the same time, number three is I think they're missing some. There's some glaring gaps. Being an outsider coming in, that I'm like, okay, out of all the vendors here, there's like 80% of them are teaching SEO and AI.
Hmm.
There's not one person talking about how do we turn. This is how I like to frame it. Let's take the best conversation you have one-on-one with your favorite client and syndicate that out to tens of thousands of people.
Mm.
And if we could do that, what would happen to your business?
Yeah, it'd be
And
massive.
yeah, yeah. And so then the other thing, you already know this, but I think a lot of people don't realize that you could be doing very, very low budget, dollar a day across 20 different small pieces of good quality content. So when people land on your website, man, they get followed around for the next 21 or 30 days.
Mm.
You are a person in their ecosystem. So that's one of the services we provide now. So when I went into the to Denver to go to the event, I had no idea that I would come out feeling this way, but I do. So
So you found, as far as personal injury attorneys were concerned, that everyone else was focusing on SEO or focusing on ads, and you zeroed in on how to. Is it intake? Well, how do you describe
yeah,
what you?
no, not intake, because the intake, there's other experts of that. No, no, no. So socially, digital assets, how do we create a trust ecosystem using digital assets, meaning your interview,
Hmm.
meaning we also have a few other aspects of it, like where you talk to the camera about like, the five questions you need to ask before you hire an attorney.
Yeah.
Well, why would you do that? Why would you be the advocate? Because you turn into an advocate for a prospect, and no one else is doing this,
Yeah.
like very, very. But John, what's crazy is, man, there's guys and gals in that market spending 30,000 a month, which is really not a lot of money, but it is for a small business.
Yeah.
And you got people though spending 100 grand, 200 grand, and they're not doing this. Like
Mm.
it's free money capture. It's that you can capture. Now, the opposite argument is like if you got a top dog law spending millions a month, and you got other like in Chicago, we got Malman and some other ones here flooding your space. My argument is a lot of people locally want to like identify with somebody who they could know, like, and trust and vibe
So
with.
they see the advertisements for the big dogs out there, but then it makes them think of, oh, I've got this case. I've been meaning to contact a lawyer about to
Yeah.
do a search, and they'll end up using a local lawyer. So the local lawyers benefit from it, is what you're saying.
The local
Yeah.
lawyers, if they create an ecosystem of trust and do what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and even if they're doing good, they're just going to see an increase, and it's very low
Yeah.
budget. It's like
Yeah.
ridiculously low.
Well,
And
I
also a
can't
lot
agree
of
more.
guys.
I mean, I've heard amazing, interesting stories over the years just from doing podcasts like I have. Stories of like I have a friend who got a keynote speech at a university because of an interview I did of him, and I remember he texted me and said, this university found this interview that I did with you, and it was a couple years earlier at this point. And they invited me to be their commencement speech, right? And another one where someone like an employee of a CEO interviewed had found the interview I'd done of her and came up to her in this warehouse, like this blue collar employee, and said, "I heard this interview that you did," and just she loved it so much, and she felt so much more connected to that company. It's really cool to see, those sorts of impacts.
Yeah, I mean, what would stop me from taking our interview? This is just for everyone to think about.
Yeah.
if I took the interview John and I just did where he's interviewing me, so I'm supposedly the expert,
You're the
right?
authority. Yeah.
The authority, right? But no one watching this right now, what if I told you that I paid John $10,000 to have me on the show, which I
Yeah.
did not. But you wouldn't have known the difference either way.
Yeah, sure.
Now, here's one other thing. Everybody, if they have tracking pixels on their websites and on their Facebook pages, they have retargeting audiences. They have people
Hmm.
that engage with your brand. I
Hmm.
would spend 20 bucks a day for 7 days, and everybody in my ecosystem is going to see me being interviewed on John's show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll reignite people, it'll increase referrals, it'll increase conversion rates, and it's only going to bring more. I got one more quick funny story for you. So we're running an ad, 30 bucks I had spent, right? We spent more than that, but I spent 30 bucks. I had two joint venture people reach out to me being like, "Oh, dude, I saw your thing. I really wanted to talk to you about how we can work together." This is what's funny. A month ago, I was introduced to that person, and the relationship was framed differently, where they were
Hmm.
like, "Well, I don't know if we should be doing business." Like, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Now they want to do business together. I'm
Yeah.
like, isn't that funny how quickly the authority
Yeah.
it just switches. It just
Right.
switches the paradigm. So
Right. Right.
there's
Yeah.
so
You can
many
see.
benefits.
You see that when it's funny because I was just talking with the client about this, and when I meet someone at a conference, almost never ask someone if they'll be a guest on my show at the conference face to face, because I know I haven't established at that point in
Oh,
credibility, and it's difficult to do it yourself. Like say like, okay, I've had
yeah.
the co-founder of Netflix on my show, and like rattle off all these different things. It just sounds not genuine, I guess. So I will usually wait if I meet someone face to face until later to invite them to be a guest on my show, because I want them to realize that I'm not desperate for guests, and that it should be a privilege for them to be a guest on my show.
Yeah.
So yeah. I want to okay, this is 2025, so I have to ask you about AI. How is AI affecting things? What's your spin on AI?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer it's a plus plus plus, where I mean that's a big question there. So
I
like
know
where
I probably should narrow it more.
I'll just speak from my own personal experience. So about a year ago, I was like, I'm going all in on AI. I'm going to go all in on AI. And then I quickly realized I'm like, the speed at which the bigger budget platforms are moving is way faster than, so like finding like where do you fit in on this AI thing, right? Um, and so when I was one of our offerings in the dental space included AI bots and included AI, voice AI. And I pulled back on that because I think there's people doing it better than what we could do, and
Mm.
that's not my circle of genius. Um, and okay, so then my question is, John, is like, well, how do you leverage AI to accelerate the rate at which, like me or you, get our genius into the world to help more people? And that's really the operating question.
Yeah.
Um, so, for example, if you're a professional or expert, back in the day, it would be like, well, do you spend a year writing one book or 2 years writing a book?
Hmm.
Where the question is, do you come out with a new book every single month?
Mm.
Focus on different sub niche within your thing. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do. Those are the questions going through my head.
Yeah.
Before I do anything now, I mean, AI is who I ask,
Yeah.
ChatGPT. And then I mean, what about you, John? Let me turn the whole question on it
I
and come
mean,
back to
I'm
you.
using it all the time. I was using it for an hour or so before, we got on this call. It's crazy to think because, my parents, my mom was a travel agent, and travel agents got completely disrupted by the last technology boom, because we all go to Expedia and Travelocity now instead of booking a flight
Oh,
with a
wow.
travel agent. So it's basically her industry was completely disrupted. And I was a writer, and writers have been completely disrupted. But I also feel that it also increased the volume. So for me, technology AI is what happened with computer animation over the last 30 years. You know, it used to everything was hand drawn and it was very expensive to create, animated movies. And then eventually we moved into VGI and everyone thought, oh, all the animators are going to lose their jobs. Well, the truth is there's tons more animated content that is created today now at a lower cost than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Jobs shifted, people do different things, but the content, the volume increases. And I think that'll happen across the different industries.
Yeah, the other question that I'm asking myself is because I love being a YouTuber, like providing content. Like I like what this is great. You and I could do this for hours. And and I think YouTube is so one little tactic is just so everyone knows, like when people opt in as leads, I'll send them to a video on our website. But I'll also give them, and I'll also say, or if you prefer to watch it on YouTube, and I'll give them the straight YouTube link.
And why do you do that?
Well, because I'm selling to myself, which is I like doing 1.25 speed on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I just like it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing something, but I think the more opportunities you give people an opportunity to consume, they're going to consume. But my question on that is, I'm starting to see more like AI driven YouTube channels pop up, and so I do think like YouTube at some points are going to either figure out ways to categorize those as AI driven shows.
Oh, they're doing it already. I think, where was it? I think I was uploading some content. Yeah, I think I was content to, I think it was Instagram, and it said you had to choose whether it was AI created or not, or AI generated or not.
Yeah,
it was a video or something that I was uploading. That was interesting. Yeah, they're requiring you to label it as such. Yeah.
That's encouraging. And I'll tell you the other thing that's encouraging just for everybody watching. So, this was a new thing for our $1 million interview, like as part of our when we interview our experts, right? I never previously thought, how do we optimize this to be ChatGPT ranking? Like to rank in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And it's funny, man. I started searching for like different people who's teaching it, and there's not that many out there. So I just went right back to ChatGPT. I was like, hey, I provide this service to attorneys and dental implant docs. What do I need to do in my videos in order to rank them in ChatGPT?
Yeah.
So again, like not to sound salesy to like people that are watching this, is to like why you want to work together is like, man, they're gonna base like if relevancy, the most recent, and then they're going to start signing their signals of like which authority channels are allowing you to increase it. Now, really smart guy. You guys have had that on the show, Chris Dreyer. Do you know Chris?
Of course, yeah, client of ours, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rankings.io. Chris is super great. Jeremy introduced me to him. He was saying some really interesting. He was talking about just ranking on a different podcast. So, what am I doing? I'm modeling, right? Because Chris is like a King Kong in the PI space.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm going to listen to every single podcast that Chris has elsewhere and on the shows. Obviously, he figured out a few things, right?
Yeah.
But he was talking to Michael Mogul about Michael Mogul's the founder of Chris and does amazing stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was talking about how local rankings, and he was talking about SEO. And he was given, and I can't articulate it as well as he could, but one thing that I learned was he was talking about like, well, if you're an attorney or just this would work with any expert in St. Louis, and you got signals coming from the Arch, or you have content that links there, whatever, blah, 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 you're going to have more relevance locally. So you're going to get ranked higher. I just gave you guys like the bastardized 10-second.
Yeah.
But you know what it really made me think about? Is that since the AI in video is actually going to probably run right through the transcripts and see what keywords and what is being talked about, it would make sense now. I'm curious, actually, I'm not making a statement. It would be curious to be like, so John, you're from St. Louis, huh? Well, so in St. Louis, you guys have the Arts and you have...
Drop St. Louis multiple times.
Drop all of it. Yeah. Like if that's what you're trying to do, like, it's just made me think of like, it's just gonna be really interesting to see how AI changes that experience. But,
it could for sure.
What's your most, let me flip the interview again. What's your most exciting thing about AI right now that has you excited?
It's God, it's so I don't know that there's any one thing. I'll tell you one thing. So, an EO forum mate of mine, she has all these different coaches that she's created inside of ChatGPT. She creates them as projects, and then she gives it a set of rules, and she wants her fitness coach to be different from her CEO coach, to be different from her CFO coach or her money coach.
Wow.
And she created all these different coaches, and then she can go to them at whatever frequency she wants and get guidance. And so I created a fatherhood and a husband coach for me.
Yeah.
So I have a sticky situation with one of my kids, and I can go in there and say, what do you think I should do in this situation? And I've been blown away by some of the advice that I get from that. So that's one area that I can see it really improving our lives.
Yeah, I really do. And I want to just encourage people too. Like, I think this is where if you have wisdom of any kind, get the video recorder out, post it on YouTube, post it on LinkedIn, because I talk about this in time collapsing about accelerated learning. People still want to have a kinesthetic check. And what I
Hmm.
mean by that, you and I can talk about this for like an hour, so I'm not going to
Yeah,
go too depth on it. But if you look at learning and teaching sports or anything, or learning inside even like school, kinesthetically they have to feel certain and congruent to take the next step. And
hmm.
so you're going to have all these inputs from advisors like that, but they're still going to want, at least I believe, unless our whole world gets dehumanized, people are still going to want a mentor, a consultant, a coach, a mastermind.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm a big fan of all those things because those things are not going to get wiped out. They may change their faces or they may accelerate. I believe live events right now is on the up. Like, I think people like
I
getting out of.
agree. I agree. Yeah, because it's true authenticity. You can't fake that. The other everything else may be completely faked, but you can't
Yeah.
fake face-to-face interactions with people. Yeah,
Yep.
and I put this in that same category. A face-to-face interaction over Zoom. I mean, I fear the day when we can completely fake it. And I won't know if the person on the other end is fake or not. Hopefully, we don't get to that point. But then maybe there's something in Zoom where you have to indicate whether it's real or not, and there's some
Yeah.
way of providing some proof of humanity or something like that. I'm sure something like that will probably be coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ed, this has been fascinating. I know we're almost at time, so
Great.
I really enjoyed this conversation, and I want to leave everyone with I'm a big fan of gratitude, and especially
Yeah.
giving my guests a little bit of space at the end here to acknowledge any peers or contemporaries that they would want to just thank for helping them in the journey that they've been through.
Well, I'm gonna name two just because it's cheating. And so one is in your own business. Jeremy Weiss, your partner, is probably
Yeah,
one of the most incredible guys on the planet. I
yeah.
mean, I don't know. Do you have like, did you AI clone him 12 times over? If I, you gotta
If I
remember,
could, I would.
I know, when I need like a referral or I'll be like, hey Jeremy, do you know anybody who like sells their mastermind on stage, but they're really not good at it, and they would need a guy like me to come alongside them and help them sell it?
He probably knows someone.
Oh, you
Yeah,
have like 10
yeah,
intros in a
yeah.
day. Hey Jeremy, guess what? I'm launching this interview wingman business in personal injury. Do you know anybody? I mean, he introduced me to Chris and a bunch of other people. He just is really one of those guys. And then like
Yep.
on Father's Day, he's like sending me pictures of himself fishing. I'm like, dude, I'm like, I haven't even gotten my done with my coffee yet. So he's the best. You know who's another great guy is I got two guys, but Chris Chico. This is kind of an under the radar one. Chris is in the he teaches people how to buy wholesale real estate, but he's my YouTube mastermind partner. We talk about YouTube
Hmm,
and ranking and selling via YouTube all
hmm,
day long. I mean,
hmm,
really, I just want to encourage people, man. There's so many ways to generate leads right now. Like YouTube, there's guys that only do YouTube and they're just generating tons of leads.
hmm.
Um, and so I could keep going, but yeah, I'm very grateful for him, and he's always very supportive and stuff like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Ed, thanks so much for your time. Where can people go to learn more about you and learn more
Yeah.
about all the different things you do?
Yeah, thanks, brother. I mean, offerwingman.com has, you'll see a ton of free content. You'll see if you run a mastermind, you run events and you need help selling out more of your stuff. That's where I'd recommend going there. If you're a personal injury attorney, Go to piwingman.com. That's piwingman.com. We have a free course right there that kind of walks through our system. And really, I think what's super important about why you can go to YouTube too and find it, but it might be a little more difficult. Really want to tell people like it's very important to understand the why we're building out these assets the way we are, because it's like an asset. When you build it once, it pays you for life. Whereas like when you run Facebook or when you run ads like on a TV station, which I'm not saying not to do.
It disappears into the ether.
Yeah, it's either working or it's not. And this is capturing a lot of that. So, I'm super excited about that. If you're a dentist, just reach out to me directly. And I'm accessible on my socials. So,
and if you are a volleyball coach and you could use some volleyball coaching tips, where do they reach you?
No, they're probably already friends. I'm pretty.
You already know them all.
Yeah, my friends are one of my good friends, the head coach of Penn State. She just became the first female coach of all time to win a national title. And then a lot of the Big Ten, a lot of our players play at a lot of the Big Ten and Power 6 schools or Power 5 schools, whatever they call them. And then I'm in the gym with my kids on Father's Day. I spent 90 minutes in the backyard with my own kids. So that's what we do when we're not doing this,
Nice. I spent probably that amount of time on our backyard trampoline. Ed, thanks so much for your time.
All right. You're the best, brother.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.